Okay, in our last week here, since everything has been about strength, balance, flexibility, I want to touch on cardiovascular side. It is an important side of our conditioning program. And since this was really designed for sport dogs, I did not put a ton of emphasis on cardio because the majority of sport dog owners, they already have a cardiovascular workout in their day-to-day routine, whether it be agility class, obedience class. You have some sort of cardio that is happening with your dog on a regular basis. So I tend to not have to focus a ton on structured cardio with my sport dog handlers. With that said, I do want to just give an idea. If you feel like you don't have a real strong cardio workout, or if you live in a part of the country where several months out of the year you're snowed in or you don't have access to outdoor space, this is something that you can do in a small area. Even if you have a hallway, you can do cavaletti poles in a hallway. So we are going to talk a little bit about cavaletti poles and how you can incorporate them into your dog's routine. It also can be a balance and flexibility and strength exercise as well. You don't need special cavaletti poles. I have a template that I can share with you guys if you need some do-it-yourself cavaletti poles. If you want to buy the ones that, if you have access to Clean Run, they have a nice set of cavaletti poles, or if you already have some and just don't know how to use them. I want to go over a few things on how to get started with using them, because there are some rules with cavaletti poles that are important that we make sure that we adhere by. The first thing that we want to do is the spacing of the cavaletti poles. Okay, so if this was a cavaletti pole here, and then this is our pole here, our distance in between the two poles needs to be starting point, the height of your dog at their withers. Okay, so this dog is right at 20 inches at her withers. Okay, so she's 20 inches, so I would have one pole, and then I would have 20-inch space, and it needs to be approximate when you're first starting out. And then I would have my second pole, and then I would have, I don't know what happened there. Then I would have another 20-inch space and my third pole, etc. Okay, we always want to give them at least their height in withers, okay, because this dictates their natural stride that they're going to have. So this dog she's very well versed in cavaletti poles. We have built a lot of reach into her stride for conformation, because she does a lot of conformation showing, and Aussies are supposed to have a big reaching, sweeping stride. So for her, I can go up to 25 inches in between poles, and she can single step in between those poles at that space. But starting out, if I just brought this dog home into my program, the poles would be 20 inches apart. That's the first rule for our cavaletti poles. The second rule is the pole height itself. So we have our cone, right? And then we have our cavaletti pole, and then we have our cone. This height of the pole from the ground up cannot be higher than our dog's height. In fact, it needs to be less than our dog's height. So if her hock height is, let's say, 6 inches, then our cavaletti poles must be less than 6 inches in height, okay? That is going to be forever and always, all right? So we have the height that we can go to, and we have the distance in between the two poles. The other catch, or the other rule, not a catch, but the other rule here is, if you have a dog that is longer in body than they are tall in height, then we don't use the wither height. We're going to use the length of their back. So my corgi clients, they're not going to use their height at the withers. They're going to use the length of their back, and that will be the distance between pole 1 and pole 2. Okay? So pretty there's my arrow. So pretty basic rules to get started here. So that is just some important parts that we need to know. And we need to be pretty exact with this. So what I want to show you here is how I start Cavaletti poles. Most of the dogs in this class and sport dog handlers, their dogs have a behavior where they can wrap around something. I like to use wrapping around a cone and in between my Cavaletti poles. This allows me to reset my dog. It allows me to get my dog moving with some momentum and picking up their legs. We're doing some bending and strengthening as they go around this cone. That they cannot be racing around this cone. Otherwise, they're going to have to pump the brakes when they come across their poles here. I always start with 1 or 2 poles starting out, and then I will have another cone on the other side. You will note this is her first time doing this in this video. We've worked on wrapping. We've worked on her trotting over to this next cone and wrapping, but now I've added a couple of cones here with some Cavaletti poles on the lowest setting. So they're right about 2 inches in height for this pole on each cone. You will notice that as she comes around this cone, I mark her coming around this cone and I put a treat right about here in this area so that she eats the cookie, and then we start moving down this direction. You will also notice that there's quite a bit of space between the cone and the first pole. I want to make sure that I have at least a couple of body lengths for my dog because, again, I want her stepping and moving with balance in this direction. And if I have this cone right here, if she wraps around, she's going to be scrunched, okay? She'll be too compacted to really get in here and lift and step. The other thing that I'm looking for when she comes over here is I want 1 foot to place here and then her to come right out. So she's just going to be striding through here. So that's why it's important that our distance here is going to be the height that our dog is at their shoulders. This is how we kind of make this magic happen. When she comes over here, I am going to have her just wrap around the cone again, and then she'll get a cookie, and then we just rinse and repeat. So this is how it becomes cardiovascular. So we will see a little demo of her here. So she gets her cookie, and she has value for coming here to the next. Okay? And you see that she's not looking at me. She's looking at that cone because her value is here, not on me. The cookies are not coming from my hand. This is really important. And I use boiled chicken for this because I can get big hunks. It's high value. She can see where it hits the ground. I try to get it in the same area. She was a little scrunched there because I got it too far away from the cone. And she slowed down some, so she's double stepping in here. It's not really a big deal because she's just learning at this point. So you see there, but I want you to see what double stepping is. I want you to see what it's supposed to look like. I also want to say that when they're first learning how to do, if your dog has never done Cavaletti poles, we expect them to have some imperfect reps. It's not a huge deal. As long as you are sure that your poles are spaced properly, your dog will begin to get their striding through the poles as they build value and understanding for what's happening here, okay? So I want you to see so 1 foot, 1 foot, okay? So she had nice speed here, and she was able to get that single step in between. So there you can see again, single stepping. So this is appropriately spaced for her. Now some things that will change this single stepping in between and striding through poles, as we call it, is if she starts out too slow. So if she gets hung up back here and she's just really not pushing through. So there she does again. You can see 1 foot, 1 front foot, 1 back foot is hitting here in the middle. But you'll notice that she starts to kind of slow down, and some of it might be the placement of my reward. Maybe it gets too close here and she's not actually moving forward and driving ahead. And there she steps on the thing. Not a big deal. We're still going to reward her down here at her cone wraps. So there she had 2 back feet in. But you see she's moving at quite a bit of a slower pace at this point. And then she's really close. So I put the cookie too close here, and now you can see what happens. She just steps all 4 feet in there, or 3 out of 4 feet in there. So not ideal, okay? So I just want you to be mindful of where we're placing the reinforcement, and we want to try to get it right on the other side of that cone so that we can then have some momentum heading back down this direction so that we can get that single stepping through there. So this was her first time with 2 poles. So I will show you what she looks like once we've grown our poles here. And we're here for a bit. If your dog is brand new to Cavaletti poles, you're going to hang out here with a couple of items for them to wrap and 2 cones in the middle. If we're struggling, if I have a dog that is extremely driven, I had a Malinois last week that we just had to go down to one cone, 1 Cavaletti pole here in the middle, and then our 2 cones, because it was just so exciting to have that extra little bit of space there. And just know that's okay. Remember, each dog is different, and we want to meet each dog where they're at with their understanding of what we're asking. Okay, so here she is now. She's graduated to a full ladder. And you see she's got enthusiasm. She's trotting down there to the other cone. She's striding through the poles. She's still relatively new to this exercise, but she has enough of an understanding to come and drive forward. So that's what we're looking for. And she's reaching and pushing herself through here. So we still may get a double step here and there. Again, it's not moving downstream as far as progress goes. If that happens, we want to just make sure that our spacing in between our cones is where it needs to be, and that we're doing all of our mechanics correctly. If we do end up with some double stepping, we should have less double stepping than more. Okay, so this is what it would look like whenever you progress to it. So we still have our cones here at the end. I always like the cones here because it takes my movement and my placement of where I am out of the picture, because all the value is down here for her. Okay, and we are working, we can do this setup here for 20 minutes, and this is her cardio. When I was in when I was completing my rehab therapy school, my case studies, I used Cavaletti poles for cardiovascular workouts, and the elevation and heart rate was matched for biking, someone biking with a dog, for treadmill work, and for a dog playing fetch. Because even with fetch, they might be sprinting, but there is some downtime, and then they typically come back to you with the ball at a slower pace. So this is a pretty even paced of cardio workout. And so this works. This you're going to get the same cardiovascular benefits from doing a controlled workout like this as you would for biking next to your dog, or putting your dog on a treadmill, or going for a walk. So this is just an idea for you, just something else for you to do with your dog. Okay, and then I want to show you, this is in a piece of my studio. This is just a small area of my studio here, and someone has edited this, so it might be fancy. But now I have my Cavaletti poles on a little bit of a bend because I'm fitting them into this small space. This was for a workshop that we did for small spaces. But I want you to see that you don't need a huge yard to use Cavaletti poles and still get a workout, okay? So this is Pink. She's done straight ladder exercises, and we've done some curved exercises. This is Pink. So she's coming through one side, wrapping a cone or a pop-up barrel that I have, and then coming back around through the poles, okay? A great cardio exercise. If it's raining, if you're snowed in, this is a small space exercise. So just to give you some more options of things to do with fitness. When we add the bend on our Cavaletti poles, we're getting a little bit more of our flexibility side of exercises here with our strength training, flexibility, balance, and now we're adding cardiovascular. So this one more exercise that you can do. Okay, so again, still being in the mindset of some small spaces, I want to show you how you can add Cavaletti poles into your already developed fitness routine that we've been working on these last 5 weeks. So here I'm just going to have her stride over some Cavaletti poles, and then she's going to get into a balanced stand on some equipment. So here we're striding through just a few Cavaletti poles here, okay? And then we're going to do some weight shifting or some lateral front foot stepping. If you have a twin disc, this is a great thing to advance to with your current conditioning program. I'm going to add her a rear foot target here. Okay, so she's got her nice balanced stand. She's been working on this twin disc here, so there's quite a bit of air in it. If your dog is new to it, you would let out a lot of air. And then we're just going to do some weight shifting side to side. So we're not going to get a complete leg lift and place for lateral front foot stepping when there's this much air in it. Then we're going to do some unstable surfaces for her rear foot targeting here. Okay. So here I've switched it up and now she's got her rear foot target is unstable and the front foot is stable. Okay. And the thing that I want to point out with the Cavaletti poles is if we go this direction to the right, we also need to go this direction to the left, an equal amount of repetitions because it's different load leg, okay? So the inside leg is always your lead leg or your load leg. That leg is doing the majority of the work. So when she was moving to the right, that right front leg and right rear leg, they were working harder than the left. And so now we're going to do an equal number of reps headed to the left. So we can now work the left front and left rear leg or the inside legs of the dog for this little half circle here. But you see the small space that we're in here. This is a small area of the room and we're working on our balance stand. We've changed our equipment here and she is just striding back and forth over the Cavaletti poles that I have set up. So just some ideas for you on how to incorporate a little bit of cardiovascular work into your fitness routine. So So let me know what questions you have about adding in some cardio. And if you don't have Cavaletti poles and you don't want to try the Cavaletti poles, that's okay. You could do cone wrap to cone wrap, or send your dog to a mat over here, to a mat over here. Get them moving if you need some ideas for how to incorporate some cardio into your conditioning and fitness routine. This is just one aspect that I like to add into my conditioning and fitness routine for cardio. I'm in Florida. I have to be mindful of the dogs when it comes to heat and cardio exercises. And I don't like to just do treadmill work. So I like to do other cardiovascular exercises that incorporate some strength training and some balance and flexibility, not just road work on a treadmill. That gets pretty boring, especially for my herding dogs. So let me know what questions you have. This is our last week. I want to make sure that I'm able to answer all of your questions so that you're comfortable in moving forward with your fitness plans. And if you have any pieces of equipment that you're dying to add into your routine, please let me know. I'm all for it and happy to help you establish ways to add that in.